right, team. Welcome to the Ravit Show. Happy Tuesday, everyone. I hope you all are having a good day. I know it's a little late from the usual time that we do, but since we have so many guests and we had to align everyone, we're doing it at this hour and super excited because the topic that we have for today is a very hot topic: the CDP and the data warehouse profile portability. We'll also be talking a little about the advantages and disadvantages of using a bundled CDP solution like Segment, and also we'll be discussing about Segment and Redshift view about the CDP data warehouse relationship and much more. So we have some interesting guests joining us today. Kevin Neparko, who's the VP Product Management at Julio Hanhan Bank, Senior Manager Product Management from Julio, and Ipo Padnes, VP Distinguished Engineer from AWS Redshift. So I'll be bringing them on, but can you all just let us know where you're joining from? I know we've been facing some issue with the live streaming on Twitter, but now I just heard from the team it's all fixed. So y'all can also find us live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and bring in those questions that y'all have for us. Also, a very cool giveaway, like we always do, is y'all can participate in the giveaway and win our swag of the Ravit Show. Hashtag the Ravit Show is what you need to type in the chat, and what we'll be doing is picking up a winner towards the end of the show. We'll be announcing it. So feel free to go for it, and we'll be sending it globally. So no limitations to the global boundaries. Also, without any further ado, I think it's time to bring up our guests here. Let's go. Hey, Kevin.
Hey.
And Hippo. Welcome to the Ravit Show. Such a pleasure to have you all today on the show.
Thanks so much for having us on.
Awesome. So I was just letting the folks know about what we'll be discussing, and obviously uh, gave them a quick sneak peek into what we are giving away as well. And Kevin, you can definitely participate. You need to type in hashtag the Ravit Show.
Yeah, I want to get my hands on some of that swag.
For sure, 100%. Looking forward to like all the best to you for that. Let's go. Maybe why not start with your introductions? That would be super cool. A little about what you do in what's your role at Julio. Maybe start from Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Kevin. I'm VP of Product over at Twilio Segment. Been in the data space for close to a decade now. I currently lead our CDP efforts over at Twilio and Segment, and really excited to chat about CDPs, what we see in the space, some of the things that we're learning from our customers, and chat about some of the things that are on the roadmap. I actually started as Segment's first data analyst. So back in 2015, loading our data into a Redshift instance and gathering insights for the business, helping us understand our go-to-market strategy, our product, and where we needed to take the business. So learned a lot about the ways in which data warehouses and CDPs could work together, and that's really informed our product strategy over the years. I'll hand it over to Han Han to introduce herself.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Han Han. I am a product lead at Segment. Super excited to be here today. And I'm coming to you from sunny Seattle, my sunny sunroom in Seattle. So before Segment, I actually spent 4 years at Amazon as a product manager on some new and slightly controversial machine learning and AI products. So I ran the Alexa smart lighting business, helping people turn on and off their lights from the comfort of their couch. And I also worked on a new to world, very controversial product called Tone, which analyzes how you're coming off to other people based on the vocal biomarkers in your voice. And really at Amazon, like I saw the power that having a strong data foundation and empowering machine learning can bring to a business, such a huge competitive advantage. So from there, I joined Twilio Segment and really passionate about the mission of democratizing the ability to have good data to companies of every size every industry so that they can make these data-driven decisions. They need to compete in like today's personalization race. I led our Unified product from soup to nuts and really excited to share more about Unify with everyone here today.
Okay, that's pretty cool. A lot of places where you've been and came out with a lot of controversial products, and it's definitely wanting to hear more about those stories as well. Ipo, you're from AWS Redshift. Can
Yeah,
you tell
yeah.
us more about yourself? Yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sipo. Well, my name is Hippocrates, but I cannot hear my name in English. So yeah, both Hanha and Kevin are the CDP experts. I'm, I guess, the data warehousing expert. I'm the engineer in the room. So I'm, you know, so yeah, I've been with AWS for the past 8 years. Joined in 2015 when Kevin started using Redshift. I started architecting Redshift. So yeah, I've been with AWS for the past 8 years. Now my role is VP Distinguished Engineer. Kind of over the past 8 years have been part of the very interesting transformation we have seen in the industry on both including what type of workloads our customers are running, which has significantly affected the way we are architecting our systems. And I'm actually very much looking forward to the discussion with Hanhan and Kevin on, for example, one area we see is more towards real-time workloads and, you know, making decisions very fast and quick and all this stuff. So, I've been around databases pretty much since I remember myself, PhD on databases and then on-prem databases and now the cloud. And yeah, looking forward to the discussion.
Awesome. Thanks for those background. I think everyone here has a pretty unique background, and I myself am looking forward to this discussion since a while now. So why not try jump into it and let's start maybe about with the basics. CDPs are so hot right now. So what is a CDP and who needs them? It's like the most important question. I'm pretty sure a lot of those who are joining us might also have. I already see you an interesting question, but I'll jump on to that once we're done through this. So yeah, what is a CDP and who needs them? Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump into it. So I think there's this really long and exciting history of customer data platforms, or CDPs, that I'm sure we'll get to later in this conversation. But I think a really easy way to think about what a CDP is, how it fits into a business, is if you were running a business, let's say it was a small retail shop before the internet, you would get to know all of your customers personally, right? They would come into your store, you'd have a conversation with them, you'd understand what they were interested in. Maybe they'd share things about their family or where they lived. They'd share whether they liked the green overalls or the purple pants. And you'd get to learn about their experiences, who they were as a person, and figure out ways in which your business could help them. As businesses have moved online, that same interaction is happening, only it's happening at hundreds or thousands of times per second. It's happening across a bunch of different applications, from mobile apps and websites to calls with salespeople to interactions happening in contact centers. And so that understanding has been distributed and is happening at much faster velocity than anybody can keep tabs on. And so on the other side of that, there are also new ways of putting that understanding to work, new applications which can interact with your end users, augment their customer experience in real time, and really be able to drive personalization that can enhance their interactions with your business. And so CDPs are really about collecting that understanding, unifying it into a central place in which other applications can then be powered by singular understanding of that user and their journey. And so, this is a hard infrastructure problem and data problem. Oftentimes you'll see the most advanced tech companies are spending hundreds or thousands of engineering hours really focusing in on this problem and really trying to build that understanding. Really where Segment and CDPs fit in is providing that experience out of the box, a unified platform to help build that understanding and then federate it into the application layer.
Okay, that's pretty much great points there. First of all, Kevin, Hanan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Kevin hit on most of those points. And I think the thing we're seeing today is that CDPs and warehouses are perfect complements to one another. So they work in tandem. Most of the customers that we talk to now, we're like, hey, there's CDP customers. We're like, what's your warehouse? And they usually all have a warehouse now where the data is getting kind of aggregated. You can pull together a wide breadth of data. But then in addition to that, and like they want to be able to activate that wide breadth of data very quickly in any kind of marketing destination or other kinds of destinations. And then the other thing they want to do is like, hey, it's not just this like long-term breadth of data. Like I also want real time, and I also want to know the way my customers are changing in real time, and I want to be able to have the freshest view for that really hyper personalized experience.
Okay, very good. Ipo, yeah, your engineering brain, what does it say?
Yeah, but I mean, I think I obviously agree with Kevin and Hahan. They are complementing each other. CDP, I would say, it's a layered on top of the system of record or the storage of that. So collecting and getting a meaning out of customer's journey and customer profile, it is the kind of where end customers take CDPs and use them, and they are very useful in order to understand their own customer's journey. And they are very much complementary to each other.
Okay, yeah, 100%. Great answer there, everyone. So thanks for that. Also, I see a question which was kind of related to what Hanan was actually talking about from George here. Would the CDP work in tandem with the data warehouse? Do you want to elaborate a bit, Hanan, Ipo, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think CDPs and warehouses interact in two really important ways. So the first is CDPs are helping build this unified understanding of a user, a golden customer record. And one of the ways in which you want to consume that is in your data warehouse. You want to be able to ask and answer questions based off of that understanding. And so one of the most popular destinations on Segment is actually a data warehouse. It's typically a store for this customer record, one of the interfaces that data scientists and analytics teams want to have into their data. And so one of the most powerful use cases is really being able to sync this singular understanding into a data warehouse and build a BI dashboard or start querying right away. The other, which is sort of this emerging technology and trend, is around reverse ETL, which is being able to tap into the breadth of data that sits in the data warehouse and be able to sync it into applications. That can be powering a marketer's omni-channel campaign. It can be sending a text message to a user who may be hitting some friction in the product. It can be about personalizing the on-site experience. There's really a number of use cases that are unlocked when you can bring that holistic understanding that sits in the data warehouse alongside golden profiles, alongside an ecosystem of tools that can put that data to work in really interesting ways.
And the other thing, Kevin, that we do see is customers using this kind of understanding the customer, right, the identity as part of their ELT process, right? Well, one thing we do see a lot is ETL, right? The customers go, transform, and then load. Whereas now, kind of what we see even more, continuously more, is ELT process, where they load the data from, say, the streams or dirty data from click streams or whatnot, and then they do the processing in the warehouse. But in order to do that, they also want to do this identity resolution and find and clean up the records and then serve them, as you said, as a reserve ETL to the application.
Yeah, that's such an important point. And I'd be curious to hear about some of the technology trends that have sort of driven that reversal in thinking about where the transformation is happening. But, one customer that we work with, MongoDB, they have this really advanced B2B complex sales cycle. And to really build that holistic understanding of their account and user journey, they're taking this golden record that Segment and CDP is helping build and joining in over 181 other tables to really complete the picture. And so if you think about like all of the nuances and ways of interacting with your customers today, building that is a hard data engineering challenge and requires a lot of data across the organization. And so that is happening in conjunction with the golden records that CDP is compiling, but also that sort of post-load transformation of being able to join in a bunch of disparate data sets to complete the picture.
Okay. Yeah, I think, Kevin, these are pretty interesting insights that you've been sharing out there. That also puts me, gets me to an interesting point, where how a business is looking at it. My next question is definitely more around the lines where how can CDPs help businesses achieve portability across different systems and platforms? Do you have any thoughts around that? And anyone can take that one.
I let the CDP experts talk.
Sorry, could you replay the question? I don't think I fully got
sure. So it's more on the lines where my thought was around the businesses and how can CDPs help businesses achieve profile portability across different systems and platforms. So anything that you could elaborate on that front?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that we have seen in the ecosystem, and one of the things that we really value in our product philosophy, is one of openness and portability, which is our customers' data is their data. They should be able to leverage it across a wide variety of applications, infrastructure, tools that they need to drive their business. And so openness and extensibility is really fundamental to the approach that we've taken. I think there are any number of use cases that are unlocked around this central unified understanding of a user, but it's sort of hard to assemble today. The first thing that you need is you essentially need sensors around all of the places in which customer interactions are happening. And that's an increasing number of applications and surface area, right? So you have data that sits in a CRM, you have data in your data warehouse, you have digital interactions that are happening on websites and mobile apps and contact center and text message exchanges. And so there's actually like a number of data sources that need to power this golden profile. The next thing you then need to layer on is identity resolution, which is all of these data streams are coming in sort of in silo in their format that makes sense for the end system, but not necessarily around building this complete understanding. And so identity resolution is this really hard challenge that a lot of data engineering teams are wrestling with today. And only then, sort of post identity resolution, post building this complete unified view across data sources, can you begin to use your golden profiles across your application. And so goal is really to reduce the amount of redundant work that in data engineering teams are taking on to build that unified understanding and really focus on the different use cases around the golden profile.
Okay. Yeah.
Anything to add there?
I think I add there that for us, it's about being able to use your data no matter where you want to use it. So like every business tool, any SaaS business tool, your marketing team, your contact center team is using, we want the right customer profiles to go there. So it's not just about like, oh, this profile works great with your marketing tool, but really creating this like central view, and that's very easy for your business teams to just stay working where they want to work and be able to always have that good data flowing to the tool.
Okay. Yeah, I think these are great insights and good stuff that Kevin and Yara are sharing. One quick question, Kevin, you were talking more about the identity resolution. It's on the side where obviously the teams kind of feel challenged. Uh, uh, so on the other side, what are the benefits of using segments identity graph in the warehouse versus building an in-house identity resolution solution? What does it look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Hanan, do you want to jump in?
Sure, I can hop in here. So I think
Yeah.
we learn through our customers, it takes about a year to
Mhm.
build and maintain a identity resolution in-house, right? That's over a year of a full-time data engineer working on this. And even for larger companies with more complex models, it could be a team. So you could kind of multiply this more because it's not just about like building the graph the first time. I think that's doable by most data teams. There's SQL scripts out there and GitHub to kind of let you do some basic identity resolution. But after you build that, how do you maintain it? The customer data model is kind of the most complex of all models in a business. And our customers are always changing, right? They move, you get new emails, you opt out of subscriptions, like things are always changing and evolving for customers. So when you do it yourself, like every time an identifier changes, you have to call your data team and say like, great, I have this new identifier and can you please
Mhm.
like revise your script to account for it? And every time you like want to incorporate a new destination because you just added a new tool to your business tool stack, like you're calling your data team to like create that destination. Or if you have like a deletion or privacy request, your data team gets called again. So like the net effect of this is like it adds up, right? Like teams spend months, years getting identity resolution right for their business.
Mhm.
And I like to say, like, we take the work off of data teams' plate. And so they can focus on higher ROI things for the business. Because really building and maintaining that graph is just one of like the hundreds of tasks that we're asking our data engineers to do. So kind of using a tool with Segment, you can buy a tested, robust, scalable identity resolution system, and you let your data teams focus on higher ROI tasks.
Okay. Uh, Definitely, those are practical examples that you've shared and very useful. We have a lot of questions out there. Maybe we can pick a few. In one that is related to Segment and Amazon Redshift that I see. So, what are the benefits of using Segment's identity graph in a data warehouse like Amazon Redshift? Ipo, can you tell us more about this? I
I
would
mean,
love to hear from you. Yeah.
usually what happens is the customer application is layered on top, right? So there is the identity graph, then there is the bulk load of the data, and
Mhm.
customers usually serve and build their own application, combining essentially these two pieces of information or sources of data, right? You can think of the identity graph as a piece of information. I don't know. What do you folks think?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. You're right. Identity graph needs to, there are use cases for the identity graph
Mhm.
within the
Itself,
data
right?
warehouse.
But usually it's more.
And that needs to then be portable across your stack, right? You need to have this singular understanding of who a user is, whether that's happening in your email marketing tool, whether that's your contact center, or whether that's data scientists building models and training models directly on top of data in the data warehouse. And so these things need to work together and complement each other as opposed to displacing or competing with one another. And we really see the opportunity for data teams to leverage the identity resolution and graph that we've trained on trillions of data points collected in real time across customers, but then be able to have easy access to that directly in the data warehouse. And so you essentially get to stand on the shoulders of this great identity resolution capability. The other thing that I would say is you know, to Han's point, you really need extensibility and flexibility in the identity graph itself. Identifiers are going to change. You're going to learn new things about your customer journey that you want to be able to incorporate into your identity resolution algorithm. And so really being able to have a bunch of different interfaces into extending that, whether that's directly in SQL in your data warehouse or in a configuration layer upstream of that, I think is a really exciting opportunity for multiple parts of the business to collaborate on building a central understanding of the identity graph.
By the way, you know, as Kevin was talking earlier, I mean, and on, you know, we kind of, what we'd like to do is to take the undifferentiating difficult problems, mundane stuff off of the customers, let them focus on, you know, their application, their business. Identity is one example of that. In another area where we are looking is just literally moving the data from where they get generated, produced, and moving them into for, you know, in the data warehouse usually, or lake, for long-term archival storage and continuous access and analytics. Examples of that can be, you know, things like, you know, the streaming ingestion, which we have, you know, as AWS we released, and it has been taking off like crazy. Again, shows the need of real-time insights and collection of data. At the same time, there has been also, I don't know if you have seen all these announcements we did around zero ETL, where we kind of taking all this undifferentiating, moving the data from the operational stores like Aurora to the warehouse. But that is kind of, you know, moving the data. Then still, in order to activate this data, this is where you actually need, you know, things like being able to have identities and CDP on top of that.
Yeah, Hanan, you wanted to add something?
I was just wanted to see how long it would take until zero ETL came into the conversation. It's so hot right now as a trend.
I do think it's really exciting though. Ivo, is there anything that you can share on some of the technology breakthroughs that have?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was part of the team that built it. So we, like, the interesting thing has been mostly, I mean, the zero ETL is what we literally did is we took, you know, the Aurora storage and the Redshift storage, and we managed to put them together instead of going to the traditional CDC route. And that is more efficient and less error prone. And again, take some of the undifferentiated stuff that customers you would usually have to worry about and make it a managed solution problem. And that we're very excited. We have, you know, Adam went in the States at last event and announced that, and the feedback we're getting now is great, and we're ramping up to get it to tip-top condition.
Yeah, I think 100% great and super interesting points in zero ETL. As hot it gets, we can like have a complete episode on it, and the you know, the discussion kind of goes on and on. But pretty cool stuff. Thanks for sharing all those insightful points. I'm looking out for a topic, a question that is pretty hot that I see. Can you discuss the role of AI and machine learning in CDP and data warehousing? We've been obviously with ChatGPT, with Bard, we've been seeing so much development happening in AI. So yeah, what's around it when it comes to CDP and data warehousing? What do you think?
I can kick this off for us. I think with Unify, one of the big benefits of landing these golden complete profiles in the warehouse is that we enable customers to build their own models, right? Most of the time, our customers have they are running machine learning models either with like SageMaker or some other tools directly off of their warehouse, maybe in like a small side load space. But it's easiest to, you know, land that data in the warehouse, and then it just plugs directly into the models that they already have. And then after the models are computed, like let's say you get a predictive trait or a lifetime value trait, then it's really easy for you to kind of join that trait back to the golden customer records. And with reverse ETL, push that back into segment and to all of your destinations. So it's really this like very harmonious, I think, data flow where people can, really, I think about like you're optimizing where data engineers are already working, machine learning teams already working. And also you're still serving up all those insights to where the marketing teams are working in the tools that they like to work in.
Yeah, I can tell you that, for example, what we see in Redshift, which over the past 2-3 years, we have released Redshift machine learning. So you can, within your SQL interface with one command, to train models based off of the data you have in the warehouse, but also run inference to that and then reverse ETL them back to the serving layer, as Han talked about. Previously, that was a multi-step process where you had to extract the data from the warehouse, put them somewhere else, run your training, run your, create a model, then feed it back or join it outside the database in order to do that. That was adding a lot of latency. The data were diverging because in the meantime, the world was moving forward. You were training on something, a little, stale, then things were diverging. Now, our customers can do that in one step, and then they can serve upstream the application. So, and we, obviously now with all the recent advancements, we see a tremendous uptick in how much machine learning is being used in line with analytics.
Very cool.
I think one of the other
Kevin,
things to keep in mind, there is a lot of excitement and hype around large language models and generative AI. And I think one of the things that we're learning is that really getting the right output and driving personalized and relevant output requires fine tuning, which requires a great data set. And I think that's really where we see CDPs and data warehousing really playing a powerful role, which is bringing together all of the relevant context, which can be an input into the model's output. And so really thinking about what that workflow needs to look like, what is the infrastructure to facilitate that, and how do you ensure that you have really high quality data in so you get really high quality and relevant output from these AI models.
Yeah, no, I think 100% agree, Kevin. It's more on the lines where it depends a lot on the data sets as well, and the quality of data that you're kind of inputting for the right output that you see. And obviously CDP kind of plays a very important role in that. One quick related question that I also see in the comments is which George had asked initially. So, how does MDM play a role into this? Super interested. I know Ipo is nodding his head, so would love to get Ipo on this one.
Actually, I would actually prefer the segment team to opine on that.
Yeah, anyone. So,
Yeah.
Kevin, you want to take him? Yeah.
I'm happy to take this. I think you can think of MDM as really sort of the controls that enterprises have to resolve different data sets into singular understanding of who a user is, but requires a lot of sort of encoding and toggles and configuration because you don't necessarily know the structure and shape of the data. I think what we're doing, which is a little bit different around identity resolution, is because we have a well-defined data spec around who a user is and how you're interacting with them across different touch points. The model can be a little bit more implicit because we understand the shape of the data that's coming in. And so just to give you a flavor of the types of identity resolution problems that are really hard, if you think about somebody who comes to a website, they're an anonymous visitor, they log in, they then get a user ID, they call into support, you then have a phone number that isn't associated with any of the other identifiers. Being able to bring that together into a unified identity graph is really difficult. It's made slightly easier by a well-defined data spec, which CDP can provide out of the box with a recommendation around how do you model this data in a way that identity resolution can really work on your behalf and work well out of the box. But that being said, especially as you scale into the enterprise, these identity graphs and identity resolution logic can be really complex. And so that's where extensibility and the ability to really adjust the algorithm based off of your data sources and identity strategy is of the utmost importance.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that, Kevin. Pretty insightful. Also, that brings me to another interesting question that we had from YouTube, and it's since we're talking about a lot of data here, and data governance and data privacy kind of plays a very important role as well. So, how can businesses ensure that their CDP and data warehousing strategies are compliant with data privacy regulations? Interesting question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's this sort of false trade-off between having an advanced data strategy, personalization, and compliance and privacy. And I think one of the things that we see is the most advanced companies around data are really bringing those two things together into a unified strategy around how they collect data and how they do that in a privacy-centric and compliant and transparent way. And so I think really this gets to the very important component that you need to be thinking about from the start, which is end user consent and privacy controls, and ensuring that your data strategy is going to incorporate those. The tools that you need to be able to accommodate that strategy. And so we really think about flexibility here and giving developers and marketers the ability to collaborate around end user consent and privacy controls, and then apply that holistically across your data stack, whether that's in your CDP or your data warehouse or any of the applications that are being powered by this customer data. Absolutely critical that you're transparent with your end users and then have the right controls in place to manage it well.
Right. And you cannot, it's difficult to do it bolt on as an afterthought. What I have seen is that, as Kevin said, the companies that have already have by design thought about this problem when they started building their architectures, they usually have an easier way into having even more advanced capabilities in the area. Whereas companies that are coming late on that, they have a little more challenges into getting into a good state across their stack. We at the kind of on the back end, we are obviously offering an ever-extending set of tools to apply governance and privacy. As an example, in the Redshift side, we recently introduced dynamic data masking, which is and the feedback and every kind of we saw a tremendous uptick immediately after we released it, because this is something that customers really need, and being able to be in as governments do enforce more, are more strict in the regulations. This trickles down to the entire stack, from the application down to the data store.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that, Ipo. It definitely helps our audience to understand and learn a little more about, obviously how data privacy kind of also plays a very important role. Thanks, Kevin. Moving on, a quick question, since we are also on this point, in terms of, the advantages and disadvantages. So I have, obviously one of the directions which I wanted to also learn was around what are the advantages and disadvantages of going with a bundled CDP solution, like segment with a warehouse, versus putting together an ad hoc collection of CDP like tools on the top of the warehouse. So can you guys tell us more about it?
Yeah, I kind of think I think of Segment as the like iPhone CDP experience, and then Composable as like the Android experience. So we're Our experience just works. We're open. We integrate with like 400 plus destinations, and you also get observability throughout the pipeline and the privacy controls, like we just talked about. We work out of the box with all major warehouses. We're not really fully bundled. Like you don't have to buy every piece from us. You can always use Google Maps instead of Apple Maps. Right. And same, like you can get segment event streaming without Unify, but it all works really great together. Right. And we think that with Unify and connections, you're getting not just the event streaming, but you get this full central view of the customer. And that when you get this, these pieces from Segment, we really do obsess over the customer experience so that it works seamlessly together. And that you're not, sideloading some script to help, piecemeal your own governance solution on top and to fill in the gaps. And we've actually seen quite a few customers like go the composable route. They set up their own stacks, get a bunch of different pieces, and then a couple years later, they're actually switching back to Segment when they realize the total cost of ownership is actually much higher, and it puts a lot more on your data teams too, right? So you're kind of taking time away from them doing these higher ROI tasks for the business.
Okay.
So that's my hot take.
I think it's pretty insightful and definitely helps the audience to understand more about the advantages and also the disadvantages. So thanks for sharing that, Hanan. A quick question here for also EPO. How and it's interesting. How does Amazon Redshift enable customers to build a performant CDP solution with Segment, because that's something I'm pretty sure a lot of folks here would also love to learn a little about that. Can you share some insight?
Yeah, I mean, look, one of the things that you already was clear is there is this challenge of you have multiple sources of data that the data gets generated everywhere, and at the end of the day, it will kind of slowly find their way to one centralized place. Usually, that it is more of the main place where you store your data. So, having a scalable and efficient way to move this data to this centralized place and ask questions to that is central to your strategy, right? Segment is, for example, is a great partner on Redshift. They have built solutions that leverage the data that is being stored in Redshift. We have been investing in making more of the moving and collecting the data into Redshift much easier. So, as I said, with the streaming ingestion to Redshift, with zero ETL, with Federate, with connectors, and all the ecosystem that has been built on top of us allows our customers to move the data into this place and run analytics. And on the other side, on the consumption side, to run machine learning, SQL queries and stuff. So all these things are good building blocks. And on top of that, then there is advanced security and governance controls, which we provide for our customers, because security and privacy are two of the most important things that anybody, when they're thinking about their data strategy, needs to worry about. And we offer all these capabilities and also with not additional charges, right? Redshift, you get it, you don't have to pay additional cost for security capabilities. So it's a very strong building block in this stack for your application.
Nice. Oh, okay, that's amazing. One quick follow-up question, Ipo, in terms of you've been talking about a lot. We've been actually talking a lot about modernizing data stack in a lot of organizations also kind of focusing on that. So, what are some of the key factors to consider as they make these decisions to modernize their data platform? Do you have any thoughts around it? And Kevin, Hanan, please feel free to add on to Ipo's point as well.
Yeah, one thing we have seen is that think about even data warehousing, or even 5 or 10 years ago. Usually it would be one centralized data warehouse where people would load the data during the day, run some reports, and then get the reports in the morning and move to the next day. This thing has stopped. It doesn't exist anymore. Now we are in a world where, first of all, you have multiple sources where you collect data. You have data in open file formats in S3. You have data in the warehouse, data in the operational stores, and you want to run analytics across this set of sources. You also have multiple accounts. Instead of having one centralized thing, usually you tend to have a data mesh architecture where you have independent teams developing their solutions, or having the stores, but connecting across them so that they run inside to be able to have insights across their these endpoints. And also and again, I keep on repeating, but the real time and the ability to run high throughput, low latency workloads in the data store on near real time or real time data, and run machine learning on top of that. This is something that it has very much changed over the old, let's call it old data architectures we see. I don't know what Han and Kevin see.
Yeah, maybe a slightly different angle on the question is really focusing in on the sequence of use cases that you want to unlock across the organization over time as you think about business transformation, as you think about modernizing your stack. I think there are sort of two approaches that will lead you to data warehouses and CDPs. There's one which is technology first, where you say, I need a CDP or I need a data warehouse. Let me go uncover the use cases across the organization that could be unlocked with that. But I think, more and more being very specific and coming use case first at the problem can really help inform the architecture, which is, what is the most pressing problem sitting in front of your teams? Is it a better understanding of your customers when they call into your support channels? Is it about sending a great sequence of onboarding emails to really get your customers set up for success? Is it about personalizing the application experience and being really targeted about what great looks like? I think will lead and inform what the sequence of architecture and technology investments need to look like to really support the business through that process.
Okay. Thanks for adding those points, Kevin. Definitely makes a lot of sense. Thanks, Eco, for sharing those. We also have a comment here from Scott Taylor. Hey, Scott, nice to see you joining us. It all starts with authenticated identity. You don't have that, then the rest falls apart.
Yeah, but as they will, I'm sure Han and Kevin will tell you, the world is a little muddier than that.
I was just thinking that.
I love that Scott's avatar was yelling that, and it felt like the point was well taken here. I do think it's important to think about stable identifiers across your identity resolution strategy, and having a persistent authenticated user ID is often the most trusted within an identity graph. And so really thinking about the different pathways and different identifiers that relate to that user ID can be a really helpful and simplifying way of formulating that identity resolution strategy.
Okay, pretty interesting. Thanks.
But again, I mean, there is obviously a bunch of uncertainty sometimes, and using tools such as machine learning to figure out these outliers. I guess this is where there is a lot of added value in what your CDP could do, right?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Nice. Quickly, just reminding our folks about the giveaway that we're doing. So we already see a few entries, but after this question, we'll be actually doing the raffle for you all. So I hope our guests have also kind of joined the raffle to win this swag, and Kevin was looking forward to it. So Kevin, all the best to you. After this question, we're doing the raffle.
Thank you. If I answer this question, can I get another entry?
For sure. Let's do it. Awesome. So a pretty interesting question here from Usha. What measures can businesses take to establish transparency and foster digital trust when utilizing a CDP for managing customers? Yeah. Interesting. Kevin, and you want to pick it?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I do think it really starts with end user consent, which is the opting into the experiences that can be unlocked with customer data, but being really transparent and specific about the ways in which you plan to use end customers' data, the ways in which they can access, control, delete, adjust, and update that data over time, I think is absolutely paramount. And, again, I think it gets back to the amount of data engineering and engineering that goes into providing those controls. There's quite a bit that needs to be built around the types of interfaces to both collect and then manage that end user consent. And so this really does become a really big drag on engineering organizations who are oftentimes recreating the wheel around these problems. And so offloading this to experts, to folks that spend their entire days thinking about privacy controls and data transparency, I think can be a really helpful strategy for the teams that are really focused on building differentiated product experiences on top of the data.
Okay. Thanks for sharing those insights, Kevin and Usha. Nice question. Thanks for bringing that up. It's time for us, like promised. We'll be doing the raffle, and we do the school raffle every week whenever we have the show. So let's see. Kevin, I don't see your name. I don't know why. But maybe next time for sure. Aziz from YouTube, congratulations. Very fancy style of writing the name there. So congratulations. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I don't see YouTube messaging yet. So LinkedIn is the best place. Thank you, everyone, for participating. My next question is for everyone here in terms of the future of CDP. What do you see in where do you see it going? Maybe Ipo, you can start on this one.
I mean, I think again a little the experts is on the other side, but one thing I do see is which was mentioned by Han and Kevin is the live continuous evolving graph, and so that this can be served to the upstream application is something that it is quite interesting, and how you would leverage machine learning as part of that. That would be another interesting area. So I personally am very excited on what our builders will build on top of our capabilities, both on the identity as well as on the data store.
Nice. Kevin?
Yeah, I think that's really well said. We talked a little bit about the different architectural approaches that you can have around customer data, but I think regardless of which path you decide to go down, there are a few components that are absolutely critical over the next few years versus real-time event streams and the ability to sync data into and out of a data warehouse. The ability to assemble a golden profile that is portable and accessible across the application stack, the ability to enrich that profile with new predictions, to use it as an input into Copilot or large language model generative AI experiences across your product journey. And then we've hit on this a few times, but end user consent, data privacy, observability, and governance all sort of baked in. And so, regardless of which approach you end up pursuing, I really think thinking about those as sort of the fundamental tenets, the things that are absolutely required for businesses over the course of the next few years, will really help inform the decision and everything that you'll need to build out around customer data.
Nice. Hanan, what would you like to add?
I think I would add, I'm really excited to see LLMs make all of our lives easier and more personalized. So having marketers, instead of setting up their whole segmentation log, just say, hey, like create an audience that re-engages 10% of my customers who are up for renewal. And so they'll be able to kind of explore a lot of these ideas and run thousands of experiments with generative content. And really I think making this really easy helps businesses really catch up to a lot of the pretty cool like the pretty cool marketing experimentation platforms that Amazon internally runs for the retail site. And I think LLMs, can also help data teams operate faster. So imagine business users writing their own SQL queries with the help of GPT, or if they can smooth over bad data inputs before they break the system and really fix our users' identities and detect and then actually fix some of these identity resolution problems. So I think we're about to reach a peak in productivity and personalization. And the CDP and data warehouse can power all this. I'm really excited to see that.
Okay, amazing insights, everyone. Thanks for sharing those. Before we jump on to the quick question, a quick comment here from Osha that I see about the previous question that you answered. End user consent and how businesses are going to access and use the customer data needs to be clearly explained to the customers. So great point there, Kevin. Thanks for making that point, and thanks for pointing out Usha. All right, we're towards the end. I know we almost time, but I'm pretty sure the audience has many more questions for you all. So if they want to reach out to you, Ipo, Kevin, and what's the best place they can reach out and learn more about CDP, data warehousing, Amazon Redshift, and much more? Ipo, where can they reach out to you?
Either LinkedIn or my email is very easy, ipo@amazon. So more. And we have, by the way, we have on May 24 an AWS Insights Day where we're gonna talk about all the latest developments in the analytics space, especially focused on Redshift. So looking forward to talking more about data analytics there.
Very cool. I think you all are also having a AWS event here in Mumbai in India this week.
Yes.
So pretty cool stuff that you all are doing. So looking forward to that. And where can people reach out to you?
See, you can find me posting on our Segment blog from time to time, and a lot of really rich CDP content there as well. And I'm also on LinkedIn as Han Squared. So you can find me there, or on Twitter at HANSQRD.
Awesome. Kevin, where can people reach out?
Yeah, I'm N2Parco on Twitter. Feel free to reach out there. And yeah, wanted to give a plug for our customer and developer conference happening August 23rd, Twilio Signal. Hope to see you all there.
Amazing. It's an in-person event that's happening, Kevin?
Hybrid.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. I think this was pretty insightful, and I think this topic can go on and on, but we'll save it for the 2.0 session that we can definitely have with the AWS segment team as well. Thank you very much, Kevin, Hanan, Ipo, for joining the Rubber Show today, and looking forward to obviously following the content that you all are sharing, and all the best for the events that are coming up. And also a big thank you to our audience for coming up with amazing questions for our guests, and bringing such great insights to the show. Thank you, everyone, once again for joining us today.
Thank you, Ravid, for organizing that. Thank you, Hanan. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, great conversation. Thanks for all the comments and questions.
Thanks, everyone. This was so fun.